think I'm 40, that's cool, but I'm not 20. Like,
Yeah,
please.
ain't nobody asking you for ID.
Certainly not anymore.
Yeah, that's very funny. Okay, so we have a lot on the agenda.
Yeah, it's quite a hefty agenda for a volunteer meeting.
It's a agenda, but you know what? That's there's a reason that there are so many people on this committee, and it's because we do really interesting stuff.
True.
So, um, you
If
know,
you could you just read me the new folks on the board so I could just write their name down, or point me to a list somewhere?
sure.
Because I'm taking the minutes just to confirm.
You're awesome. Thank you, Nobles. All right, so I'm just printing out a copy of the agenda so that I can make notes of the times and keep myself on track. So I'm looking in the attendees. We've got, we don't have any committee members who are attendees. And for people who are new, I just want to let you know I have two screens. So if I'm looking off to the side and I look like I'm not paying attention, I'm not paying attention. I'm just looking at lots of materials related to the meetings. I swear I'm not like streaming Netflix during the meeting, I promise. So right now we have our committee members, you and me and Francisco Lopez and Sally Fisher. We also have an attendance, Danny Bonilla, our one of our new appointees. Welcome. I sure hope you get assigned to this committee. Anybody who's looking at that excellent photograph that is not his face but is his work definitely gets that Danny speaks quite strongly to the cultural affairs aspect of the Parks and Cultural Affairs Committee. So welcome everybody. We've got other folks who are going to be coming in the interest of keeping things moving so that we get out before everybody's blood sugar begins to really tank. My goal, it's 6:32. I'm calling this meeting to order. My goal is to get us out of here by 8:30, by which I maybe mean 9, but I really hope we don't go past that. So if I'm moving things along at a brisk pace, and am mistaken for being brusque, know that I am just trying to keep us on task. By way of managing expectations for timing, we have a bunch of things happening in this meeting on the agenda. And I believe that we will be getting to the Row New York boathouse project at Sherman Creek with presentations from Row New York and the Parks Department probably by about 7:30. So folks from the Parks Department, if you want to, you're obviously welcome to stay, but if you want to like kill your video, eat dinner, do whatever else it would be that you might be doing prior to that agenda item, you are free to do that. I also would like to let everybody know that this meeting is for informational purposes only because the community boards by city charter are not required to meet during the summer. This meeting is optional. And while we have a lot of information to share and to learn, we can't take any official action, which is fine because none of these items really requires a resolution. They're all the items are sort of standing on the shoulders of other things that have come before it. So I use the term meeting in loosely. This is not legally a meeting of Community Board 12 because now that the governor's executive order has expired, we are required to conduct our business in person. Zoom is super convenient for a summer meeting. Informational session for us to share information, but once again, we cannot conduct business, so there are no resolutions. I just want to make that abundantly clear, and I look forward to seeing you all in person at our September meeting, which it will be nice to see you all because it's been way too long. So with that, a few beginning announcements. We have, we don't have minutes from the June meeting. I just couldn't get it together to compile them and to take the draft that I had gotten. Thank you to Naima Silver for taking the draft minutes. I wasn't able to compile them into fully edited minutes. And in the interest of achieving a reasonable work-life balance, I decided not to beat up on myself too much about that. You can look forward to the minutes of that meeting in time for our September general meeting. We did generate a resolution in support of the proposed design for the Dykeman Rest. That resolution was passed unanimously by the full board at our June meeting, 40 votes in favor and 1 member not voting due to conflict. Quick question for Jennifer. Confirmation of Ann Loftus Playground construction start date? That's gonna be, that was pushed back to like August? Is that, are we still good on that?
August 23rd, Liz, yep, is the new order to work date for the contractor.
Okay, so if everybody, you know, one of the things that we, community boards are very useful for helping to share that kind of information. So particularly for the members of the public who are in the Northern Washington Heights area and in Inwood and are really using the Ann Loftus Playground a lot, and for members members of the public and members of the board who live in Inwood, please help spread that word that the new construction start date for the Ann Loftus Playground is August 23rd. And once again, the playground, the entirety of the playground will be closed during construction, which is anticipated to take 12 months. The Parks Department's been pretty good about finishing their things up on time. So I have every reason to believe that come next August, and if we're lucky, perhaps sooner than that, we will have a beautiful new playground to enjoy. I don't have much of an update on the parks renaming discussion. I've reached out to several different members, representatives of the Lenape Center, and I really don't want to have that conversation around the renaming of Bennett Park until we have some representation from the Lenape Center for that conversation. I think that's an important thing, but it's not a time delimited thing. So if it waits for a little bit while longer, I think it's more important to get it right than to get it done you know, quickly at the expense of getting it right. But I do want to give Jennifer just a moment to give us a quick update on the Parks Department's Juneteenth naming announcements of a number of parks and parks facilities throughout the 5 boroughs, although none actually in CB12, which is why this isn't a full agenda item. It's just a quick update.
Sure, thank you, Liz. 16 sites or 16 renamings were announced on Juneteenth. 4 of them were in Manhattan, 2 in Staten Island, and the rest pretty much equally split between the Bronx, Queens, and Brooklyn. And that brings, I guess, the total to 28 park sites renamed in honor of the Black experience in New York City. So for Manhattan, the 4 sites, this committee was among many historians and others who wanted to ensure that Constance Baker Motley got some recognition. A central location was selected for her, given she was the borough president and she was a judge. The 54th Street Recreation Center was named for her. We've got Ralph Ellison Plaza at Riverside Park and 150th, just 5 blocks south of our district boundary. The Percy E. Sutton Playground now, in the location that was formerly Harlem Lane Playground, and Lorraine Hansberry Park. She was a playwright and writer who authored A Raisin in the Sun. and the first African-American female to have a play performed on Broadway. Hell's Kitchen Park is now Lorraine Hansberry Park. There's more you can read up on the Parks Department's website. I do want to just let this community know that your advocacy, your outreach, the concerns you elevated in several of your committee meetings about Bennett Park. The Parks Commissioner is obviously moving on, but he did commit to having the Parks Department rename Bennett by the end of this year. But he did not want to cut short the ongoing dialogue that you've been fostering. But I think he did want to acknowledge this has been raised as a priority. And so he put a placeholder in for Bennett Park, awaiting ongoing recommendations from your committee.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. I also want to let people know that folks are welcome to ask questions in the chat. I may or may not get to answering them right away. They may relate to something happening later in the agenda, and so I will answer them later. Please don't think that I am ignoring you if I don't answer it right away, and please resist the urge to ask the question again if I haven't answered it fast enough for you. I promise you that will not make me answer it faster, and it might make me answer it slower. So I welcome questions, but because of the nature of a public meeting, I can't just type in the answer because that wouldn't be public, because not everybody can see it. So I will get to your questions. Next up on my updates, I think Jennifer is going to update us on ongoing parks cleanups when she gives her report. She will, the Highbridge pool is open, yay! There are some issues with not as much ability for lap swimming and the senior swimming program because there's a serious lack of lifeguards. So if anybody knows anybody who qualifies for being a lifeguard and would like to be hired for that, information on that is on the Parks Department website. It's a pretty good gig. It pays better than most jobs. And if you can swim and you can pass the test and you've got good vision, it's a great job for an older, responsible young person. Lastly, the Harlem River Community Rowing presentation, which was supposed to be this month, has been deferred at their request. They asked to speak instead in the September meeting. So that's why it was removed from the agenda. I didn't want anybody to think that they were not welcome to share the information about their program, and we look forward to their presentation in September. Before I move to brief programming updates from each of our CBOs, actually, I'm going to reverse the order of that. I'm going to have Jennifer give her report very briefly, and then we'll do cultural and Friends of Parks organizations, and then segue into the Hispanic Society. But before we do that, anonymous attendee, and it would be very helpful if you would tell me who you are, asked, why did Bette Midler leave the New Leaf a couple of years ago, and why haven't we all seen the RFP for a new restaurateur? Rather than get into a rehashing of something that has been discussed at many different meetings, I welcome you to go to the Community Board 12 website. It has all of our minutes except for June on the website, and you can see the discussion all throughout 2019 and 2020, and an update earlier this year on that. It's a long story with a lot of moving parts. The short version is that there was a concessionaire. They broke the terms of their agreement by closing down the restaurant. There was an RFP. There were several people who applied, and the highest bidder ultimately did not wind up signing a contract. They backed away. So then the Parks Department was going to have a new RFP, and then COVID happened, and there were a whole bunch of other priorities. Eventually, there was a new RFP. The deadline for that was in March or April, and then it got moved again till I think the end of April or the beginning of May. The Parks Department has received many applications. I don't know how many. They can't actually tell us that. They can tell us that after it's been, the contract has been awarded, but they can't share that information yet. And the process is moving along. So there isn't much that I can say because we don't really know, but there is a public process and it is proceeding apace. And for more information than that, I welcome you to check our website. So Jennifer, what have you got for us for a brief report? Oh, and actually, sorry, but I'm quite sure that people will have many questions for Jennifer, and ordinarily we have enough time where we can have a little bit of a Q&A, but unless you've got like a really burning question that demands a timely response in the context of this meeting, I would urge you to reach out to Jennifer. She is quite responsive to email and phone calls and can answer your specific questions to her.
Great, thanks, Liz. I also just wanted, on the parks renaming front, I also just wanted to remind the committee that at some point in time, you had some great ideas about Dykeman Rest and renaming. So I hope that gets revived come the fall. On the announcement front, rabies has returned to Northern Manhattan parks. You may have heard the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene and the Parks Department's Wildlife Division have been administering oral vaccines in the woodlands and along park slopes in Fort Tryon Park and Inwood Hill specifically. They look like little ketchup packets. The animals ingest them and then are vaccinated against rabies. They are not particularly harmful to your dog. If your dog happens to ingest one or two, they might vomit, but it's not going to cause permanent damage. Given that there have been cases of rabies recently, particularly along Payson Avenue, we just want to remind all dog owners and dog walkers to keep your dog on leash for their protection, except when they're obviously in the dog run. So please do be mindful also, if you're not a dog owner, of skunks and raccoons, which can carry rabies. And if you see something out of the ordinary or you're concerned, absolutely call it into 311 or feel free to shoot me an email and I can contact wildlife. This committee is very aware, but some of the attendees on the call may not be aware. The Parks Department has part of its citywide retaining wall contract, has funding and has an engineering design for retaining wall and sinkhole repairs along the West Side Greenway between 180th Street and Dykeman Street. As this committee, the panel knows, the contract for the construction was registered. We're still waiting for the city's Office of Management and Budget to register and approve the construction supervision contract. We're expecting that to happen later this summer and work on the bike path to begin after Labor Day. Contractor is projecting a 4-month closure. So there'll be an on-road detour from 158th Street to Dykeman Street. We are hoping, and there'll be signs up at key entry points to the bike path related to that. There'll be signs up on the Parks Department's website, and we'll be reaching out. Groups like Street Blog already know, and we'll reach out to Transportation Alternatives and other. We are hopeful that the contractor can first do 180th Street, in which case we can fast track the reopening of the 181st Street pedestrian bridge. So then only a mile of on-street detour will be required for the remaining duration, construction duration. On the stewardship front, I just want to give a huge shout out. I don't know if anyone from Friends of J. Hood Wright is on the call. They've been invaluable twice a month, helping not only in J. Hood Wright Park, but in the footpath, the foot park going down towards the Little Red Lighthouse. This Saturday, they collected 28 bags of trash We've got a lot of people who, when they're on the highway, throw their trash out the windows. And it's really upsetting and demoralizing, but we're so glad Diana Douglas, Daryl, and Alexis and crew get out there and are helping us take it back. And I also wanted to thank the Fort Tryon Trust Dog Run Committee. They came out post-storm to clear drains. We got a lot of silt in our drains. You might have seen after the several storms we had last weekend. Clearing those is really key to preventing further erosion problems. Monday morning pitch-ins. I want to thank everybody who came out to Highbridge and Inwood Hill Park so far this summer. Incredibly helpful after large scale gatherings. Everybody's out using the parks with their families and friends. So having that added help after weekend is really key. So thank you. We've got another one scheduled for this Monday, July 19th at Fort Tryon at 8 a.m. at the Broadway Dongan lawn area where we get a lot of activity. That's Monday, July 19th at Fort Tryon, and Monday, August 2nd, we'll have one again at Highbridge at 172nd in Amsterdam. Some people had asked about the next Roger Morris Park Garden Day. It's scheduled for Sunday, August 1st at 10 a.m. Come on out and work alongside our gardeners in making that park its best. And for people who'd rather be working in the forest, Parks Department Stewardship Division has a Forest Restoration Day, August 27th at 9 a.m. meeting at Seaman and Isham. Just a few, we've got a lot of programs coming on in the parks. Some are planned and some are pop-ups and some of our partners because everyone's receiving grants to perform and it's wonderful. So just some quick highlights. Sunday's canoeing event with the Urban Park Rangers is full. I wanted to make sure that that's clear. I know there was some confusion. Next Thursday night, you'll have on July 22nd, you have two options for live jazz. Antoine Roney will be performing as part of Parks Arts, Culture and Fun at J Hood. He's an amazing saxophone player and apparently a great band leader as well with several albums. At 6 p.m. at J Hood on the 22nd, and at 7 p.m. at Cafe Lawn in Fort Tryon, Pete Venzel and the Venzel Combo are going to be performing. So pack a picnic and come on out. They're great. They're all local musicians who love Fort Tryon. Some even got married there. Friday, July 23rd, Movies Under the Stars at Inwood Hill Park at 8:30 p.m. Parks Recreation Division is having a screening of Forbidden Planet, the 1956 movie on Indian Road Lawn, or actually closer to the peninsula. A starship crew goes to investigate the silence of the planet's colony, only to find two survivors.
The description.
Blah, 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 blah.
Thank you.
Mark your calendars for the Stan Michaels Jazz Concert with Marjorie Elliott and Rudell Dreers. That's honoring the 13th anniversary of the passing of our council member, Stanley Michaels, who over his tenure gave $50 million to Uptown's parks. And that's going to be at the Stan Michaels Promenade in Fort Tryon. And lastly, Wednesday, August 4th, we're closing down the drives in Fort Tryon Park. It's part of Wonderful Wednesdays. August 4th from 6 to 10:30. There'll be kids games. You'll be able to ride your bike, jog, chalk on the park drive, car free. And there'll be ballroom dancing lessons, sunset yoga, and we'll be having a screening of The Wizard of Oz. And the Wicked Witch of the West grandson will be giving a special intro. So that starts 6 p.m. August 4th. Dykeman Waterfront is the only capital project I want to give an update on because it's come up at this committee, and I don't know if Sally's on, but I promised I would get an update. That's being led by Parks Marine Operations Division. It had been being run by the city's Economic Development Corporation. Now it's Parks. They submitted a design certificate to proceed to the city's Office of Management and Budget for approval, and they're waiting on that. Parks will be handling this entire $22 million project in its usual format. We will be having public scoping meetings. The project manager for parks is anticipating that will be held this fall, the public scoping meeting. So that's the Eco Dock, AKA the Community Dock, Inwood Canoe and Kayak Club's revetment, new boathouse building, and the Dykeman Pier.
Perfect. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, in the interest of time, I would like to move the agenda. I see Danielle has her hand up, so if you could make your question very brief. And if it's something that you can ask Jennifer directly, you are also always free to reach out to her.
Okay, thanks. So Jennifer, two super quick questions. Or well, the first one is super quick. The first one is, I saw on Saturday that the bathrooms in Inwood Hill Park were closed again, but then they seem to reopen later that day. So I just wanted to know if they've been fixed completely, or if they're still sort of working on them.
The ones by the tennis courts, Danielle?
Yes.
Yeah, we brought in a private contractor to make repairs. So I don't know if they were temporarily closed for cleaning and then got reopened, but I can find out. But I didn't get any notifications that we had to shut it down. So my expectation is it was temporary.
Got it. And then the second question is maybe a longer question, and I'm not sure if we have time for this, but I wanted to know if we were just talking about the Dykeman Pier. I wanted to know if the area that seems to be part of the restaurant is open to the public, like the part by the row house, or if that part is private and owned by the restaurant.
There's no part of anything that is private and owned by the restaurant. There are parts that are public and part of the concession that the restaurant runs, but zero of it is anything other than public property. Jen, if you want to.
Sure. So Danielle, the Parks Marine Division sort of manages the southern half of the site. So that's the docks and our boathouse and sort of the beach area with seating. And that's treated as public park. You don't have to be a patron of the restaurant to go there.
And then, because there's a part that's sort of like in between that boathouse and the restaurant, or like in between the pier and where that little rowing house is, like along the path, like if you're walking down the path, there's that little house. I'm not sure what everything is, but I just wanted to know if that little like dock, that's not the dock next to, there's like the dock near the parking lot. I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the like boating dock that seems to be private. Is that accessible to the public at any time, or?
So that's Inwood Canoe and Kayak Club. It's the red boathouse. And they have, it's south of our marina. And that's Inwood Canoe and Kayak. They've got a management agreement with the Parks Department, or license agreement with the Parks Department. And they have rowing days every Sunday, open house from Memorial Day to Labor Day. They also partner with local schools to get kids out on the waterfront.
Okay. So
Okay.
you have to be a member of that club.
Yes and no. So there are 3 separate piers. The northernmost one is just open to the public, and the gate gets locked sometime around dusk, sometimes earlier, sometimes a little bit later. Then there are the docks that are part of the marina, and you have to have a boat at the marina in order to be on those docks. South of that is the pier that is the Inwood Canoe Clubs, which is what Jennifer mentioned. And if you are a member of the Inwood Canoe Club and a volunteer with them, you have a different level of access to it, but members of the public can use that dock if they sign up for the public rowing days, which are on Sundays between like Memorial Day and Labor Day. It's really a blast. I encourage you to do that, but you can't just like wander out on the docks because docks are nice.
Yeah, no, I've always just wondered about that area because I don't know
Yeah.
too much about it.
So
and
I would again strongly encourage you to use the search feature on our minutes. I'm going to move the agenda. Thank you. And I'm going to, I'm gonna allow Trish Anderton, who's with the Inwood Canoe Club, to address that very briefly. And then Debbie Cardona has a question, and then we are going to move the agenda. We have a packed agenda. And this is not a town hall with the Parks Administrator. Trish.
Hi, thanks, Liz. And you and Jennifer did an excellent job of explaining the club. I just wanted to add that I'm going to post a link in the chat where you can find out more information about the Inwood Canoe Club. We do have pre-registration for our Sunday free open house paddling this summer, and we have lower caps on the numbers that we can take because of COVID, but we would love to see anybody who wants to try paddling a kayak out on our dock on Sunday mornings. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Debbie Cardona has a question about the Columbia Summer Winds.
Well, actually, I can go without the Columbia Summer Winds because it's too late for that, but we always play up at Fort Tryon down in that little area right by the wall, the tree shaded spot. But my question, since you asked, my question was about what's happening at New Leaf, and then the announcements of money all of a sudden appearing in the talk of completing the Greenway, which I'm also concerned about for all cyclists that, you know, according to a paper, the city's parks doesn't want to work with New York State Highway to create a temporary route or lane on the Greenway so that those of us, and I ride regularly from 158th up to Dyke Street,
Yeah.
that a lot of people are commuting to and from work.
Right. So in the interest of time,
But that's okay. You don't need to answer that. It doesn't need. I'm just saying that a lot of us are concerned about this and it's being sprung on us, and a lot of stuff gets sprung on us. What really concerns me, and the question I'd like answered, is why Bette Midler left.
okay, I'm gonna stop you right there. Deborah.
No, because it's part of a question, please. And
Deborah.
the time you take telling me to stop, I could have finished the question, which is I'm concerned about the fact that monies and monies and monies and plans for creating the Greenway going all the way around, all of this stuff keeps getting put off, but I still, no one has answered why Bette Midler abandoned us.
Okay, Deborah, so
Yeah.
I would encourage you to take a look at all of the minutes of the previous meetings that discuss that. And if you would like to know why Bette Midler did or did not do whatever it is she did or did not do, and why the New York Restoration Project did or did not do whatever that organization did or did not do, I would encourage you to direct your questions to Bette Midler and to
No,
New York
I don't
Restoration
think
Project.
so. See, but this brings the balance.
Okay, no, I'm sorry, I'm moving the agenda. Okay,
Liz, I just had a quick question for Jennifer.
yes,
Great summer, and I.
yes, Sally.
Jennifer, do we know when the dock at Muskota Marsh is coming down? We actually have some oyster traps there and we just need to move them in time. Do you know a date for when they're going to remove the dock?
I don't, Sally. I know
Okay.
we were trying to get like a reprieve from the moratorium on when in-water work can happen. DEC seems very concerned about habitat impacts, so they're not allowing that, which is probably the right tack to take. But I'm told last from Columbia that it's sometime this fall.
Okay, thanks.
Great, thank you. Okay, next up, we have brief programming updates from Cultural and Friends of Parks organizations. I will call you in the order in which I see your hands raised. Shiloh Holly from the Morris Jamel Mansion.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
So we have, I'm just going to go through our outstanding July and then August events since we won't be meeting next month. On Monday, July 19th at 9 p.m., it's an evening event. We have, for National Ice Cream Day, we have a virtual webinar on the history of ice cream. Wednesday, July 21st, we have our next virtual parlor chat, and that topic is on 857 Riverside, Saving New York City's History, a Historic Preservation virtual panel. That's, of course, on Zoom at 7 p.m. As Jennifer mentioned, our next volunteer gardening day at Roger Morris Park is Sunday, August 1st. And our next family day is Saturday, August 14th, with our bilingual tour at 11:30 and a bilingual story time and bachata dance partnership with Word Up and the Dance Project of Washington Heights from 1 to 3 p.m. We are so thrilled to announce that we will be bringing back our annual jazz festival with Marjorie Elliott. This year will be the 29th year. That's August 21st and 22nd, and we should have information about that on our website soon. Additionally, we'll have a series of pop-up music and dance programming coming to the park, so please check our event calendar for that and other events at morrisjamil.org.
Thank you. I see that Hispanic Society's hand is raised. I'm going to call on you last. Just don't want you to take it personally that I'm calling on everybody else first. Next up, we had A. Rice. I'm not sure who that is. Going once, going twice.
Hi, I don't think I raised my hand.
Oh, okay, my bad.
I submitted a question ahead, but I think it has been addressed at least somewhat, which was about the Greenway using the Henry Hudson.
Got it. Okay, thank you so much. Next up, we have Nydia Gutierrez from NOMA.
Hi, thank you, Liz. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to give a brief report about what NOMA is up to, even though we closed our stroll officially last week. And thanks to all of you who attended or participated or supported us in some way. We are still busy. This Thursday evening, we will be rebroadcasting the True Titans' wonderful performance on Thursdays with NOMA at 7:30 p.m. It's virtual. So if you missed it last fall, you have one more chance to watch it. Next Thursday evening, we will be featuring artist George Nelson Preston. And to close out our July, we have artists Andrea Arroyo and Felipe Galindo with us. This Saturday, we invite you to Art in the Garden, curated by Daniel Bonilla, taking place at the Ring Garden between 12 and 5 p.m. I think we expect 30 artists and performers to participate. And next Saturday, on the 24th, we encourage you to participate in the Dyckman Run Club's first Red Hook Charity 10K Run Walk, and that will be held between 8 and 4 p.m. If you haven't had a chance to make your way to the Audubon Terrace, the Hispanic Society Museum and Library, and Boricua College, please do, and do so before August 15th. And there you can enjoy 3 exhibitions, a mural exhibition on the Audubon Terrace, and that is Latinx Diaspora, In the Heights, a photography show from University of the Silver Screen, which is located in the East Building Exhibition Gallery, and finally the In the Heights at Boricua College, The Magic of a Neighborhood. There are also 3 workshops with the mural exhibition artists free for youth and families on the 17th, 24th, and 31st. Finally, please visit our website at nomanyc.org and or our social media handles, where you'll find a stroll survey that we would love for you to fill out with your feedback. And there are prizes if you submit by July 31st. That's it for now from NOMA. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And thank you for an excellent Art Stroll month. Everything was great, but the Moth Slam at the United Palace was remarkable in so many ways.
Thank you.
It's great to see community board members who are exhibiting artists, and I just want to shout out George Preston. Many of you may not realize he is a former member of community board as well. So next up we have, just look at Sally. Are you giving a report from Friends of Inwood Hill Park?
Yes, just quickly, we will be pulling knotweed this Saturday morning if anyone wants to get down and dirty in the dirt with us and help remove invasives. Also, just to report quickly, the Washington Heights Inwood Food Council had our first family gardening day. We will be having more upcoming. We just haven't set the dates. And finally, just to reemphasize, the Ring Gardens, I think it's probably our 15th or something, Art in the Garden. We would love to have people show up between 12 and 5. Danny's done an amazing job of pulling together artists and performers. So this is an event you don't want to miss.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
When is that event? What day and what time
It's-
again?
Sunday.
It's Sunday from 12 to 5 at the Ring
Thank you.
Garden, which is the A train stop on
Saturday,
Dyke.
actually.
Oh, it's
I mean,
Saturday?
Saturday. Yeah, Sunday is the rain date. Sorry about that.
Got it.
So keep an eye on the weather.
All right. Thank you. Next up, we've got Margaret Norzer.
Hi, I'm from the Parks Department as well, but I'm from the Media Education Department. Hi,
Hi.
can you hear me? Okay, great. I just wanted to quickly talk about, just let everyone know that we're doing some media ed classes, free classes in Inwood Hill Park this summer, all the way through the last week of August. I've been posting a lot on like the community Facebook groups and things like that, but they're all free. We do things like walking the trails and doing photography, creative writing by the water, things like that. I can post my email address in the chat if that's helpful for anyone who wants to join the mailing list.
Okay, thank you so much. Please do. And next, I think we've got,
Liz, could I just do a quick shout out to the Partnerships for Parks and Jennifer and the Urban Park Rangers for the recent cleanup in Inwood Hill Park. We had a blast. We cleaned up a lot of garbage, but we also had a really nice walk with the Urban Park Rangers. The next one I think is scheduled for August 8th, but I would encourage everyone to join the pickup crew. It's really a fun morning.
fantastic. Thank you so much. And last but not least, we've got Alexander Campos from the Hispanic Society.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Liz, again, and all the members of the committee. I just want to say, well, I have to thank Neria from NOMA, who actually did all the talking for me, so I will be very brief. I put in the link to our workshops that we're hosting this 17th, 24th, and 31st. 2 of them are in conjunction with the Mural Project, and 1 is a theater workshop in conjunction with In the Heights. Again, there are these coming Saturdays, the 17th, 24th, and 31st. The links in the chat. And then we are going to have, since we're not having a meeting in August, we're going to have a community day in September with music and some art crafts making exercises and so forth in September. More will be shared at the September meeting, but thank you very much. And I know that our new director will be meeting you shortly. Thank you.
Outstanding. And that is the perfect segue. Is there anybody else's whose hands, I'm not seeing any more raised hands. So I'm looking for Guillaume.
It's under Keynes, K-I-E.
Oh, actually, no, he's under Hispanic America. Promote panelist. Okay.
I got the link to that.
Right. I'm trying to promote. All right, did that work?
I received the, here he comes. There he is.
Hi, do you hear me?
We can. What time is it where you are? I'm afraid to ask.
Yeah, it's 15 past 1 a.m.
Oh,
It's okay. It's okay. Well, thank you so much, Liz. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself. I joined the Hispanic Society Museum and Library a bit more than 4 months ago, and I moved to Washington Heights 2 months ago. actually I was a bit familiar with Upper Manhattan because I did live in Inwood for 2 years, but I never lived in Washington Heights, and well, it's a great neighborhood. I'm very happy to be part of that community. So I just wanted to give you some updates about our plan for the future at the Hispanic Society. As you know, we've been closed for the last 4 years, and we have reopened because, as Neria said and Alex said, we are hosting 2 exhibitions that we are doing with NOMA. One is the Latinx Diaspora on the terrace, and the other one is in the Heights in the new East Building gallery. So I just gonna share my screen. Do you see it?
Yes, thank you.
So I guess the Hispanic Society Museum and Libraries collection doesn't need any introduction, but it's just to remind you what an incredible collection it is of Hispanic cultures, and we are just continuing Arthur Huntington's initial dream, which was giving a voice to Spanish-speaking cultures and communities. So this is what we are here for, and that we are continuing. Obviously, during COVID, we've moved online, just like many of you, and actually we are online tonight. And but we will be resuming our on-site activity very soon as the CDC guidelines will allow it. The completed part of the capital project that we've done already is the renovation of the Soria gallery, the facade restoration, and the replacement of the main building roof. I guess you're familiar with Audubon Terrace and the campus and the different buildings of the Hispanic Society. So this is the East Building on the right side of Broadway. The main building is the one on Audubon Terrace, the upper terrace, and then the North Building is the one on the lower terrace behind the statue of El Cid. So a few months ago, actually on June the 9th of 2021, we have opened our first ever special exhibition gallery. So from now on, we will be organizing special exhibition at the Hispanic Society, both loans exhibitions, so with works coming from other institutions, and collection-based rotation. And the first one, in the Heights, is the loan exhibition that we are having right now, from photographs from the musical, the play, the movie, and also some making of pictures that tells this incredible story. And in the fall, we're going to have an exhibition about sculptures from Spain and Latin America from the Hispanic Society Museum and Library collection. So our next steps is to have the upper terrace to be accessible. As we are reopening, we really want to make sure that every new space that we open are fully ADA accessible. This is a priority of us, a very important one. And we really want to give priority to the terraces, especially the Broadway terrace is already accessible. We have a ramp, so a person in a wheelchair can absolutely come and see both exhibition in the Heights and Latinx Diaspora, but the upper terrace is not accessible yet. And this is very important because there is so much things that we can do on the upper terrace, and so many events or community initiatives that we can welcome. Or just, spread some tables and chairs and let people hang out and enjoy this incredible, this unique space in New York City. So we're very eager to have the upper terrace being accessible, and hopefully it will happen by this winter. This is some images of the Latinx Diaspora exhibition on the Broadway terrace, which is already, as I said, fully accessible, fully ADA accessible. Then our goal is by the summer of next year, as the upper terrace will be accessible, to give access to visitors to the main court and the Soria Gallery. Again, the Soria Gallery has been renovated, so it's waiting for visitors, but we cannot open it to visitors until it's fully accessible. And we will be refreshing the main court. So again, it will be accessible to visitors and also be available for initiatives, for special exhibitions, for community projects, and every kind of collaboration that we are dreaming of. The next year, in 2023, we will have our brand new conservation lab, which will take place on the top floor of the East building. And by the summer of 2024, we intend to create a connection between the East building and the main buildings, so that the Hispanic Society's buildings will be fully accessible from the outside and through the inside too. And as we will have this connection between East building and main building, we will save some space in the ground floor of the East building to have a brand new education center. Education is really our priority, and having more space to dedicate to schools, to children, to families. And lastly, because I know that we have a packed agenda tonight, I just wanted to let you know so you can mark your calendar, 2 exhibitions that we will be doing in the fall. One on site, as I said, Spanish and Latin American sculptures at the Hispanic Society Museum and Library, opening on October the 13th, and treasures from the library of the HSML at the Grolier Club, Midtown, and that would open on September the 28th, 2021. So we are moving forward. We will reopen progressively, and again, it's all about making sure that every new space that we open are fully accessible, and so we can give space and voice to new projects. And we do hope to receive many proposals from community members, community stakeholders, as we have already started to work in perfect collaboration with NOMA. So this is the spirit that we'd like to foster and develop. I hope I have not been too long. Thanks again, Liz and everyone, to give me the opportunity of sharing those few information.
Thank you so much. That was super informative, and I think we can take a few questions. Before we do, I just want to say that it's really heartening to see and hear this. We did go through a pretty dire period in the 90s when we thought, well, actually when the museum was giving serious consideration to moving, and when the community board was really concerned that like the Numismatic Society and the Museum of the American Indian, that you were going to leave the community. I don't think I'm overstepping my bounds when I say I'm pleased and grateful that you're still here. And I think I speak for the community when I say that. So this is really good to hear. You're clearly making a commitment, and the kinds of programming where you're embracing the community, local community organizations, is what we've been begging for decades. So more of that, please. And for those of you who did not have the opportunity to see the Pied Piper Children's Theater production of Oklahoma, of all things, on performed in multiple spaces, but they did several showings of it on the Audubon Terrace. It wasn't accessible because that space isn't accessible yet, but that really showed the potential for community collaboration of unrelated events happening in your space. That was a gift to the community, and I'm really looking forward to more of that and to that space being accessible. So just do folks on the committee have questions? Do folks who are non-committee member attendees have questions? All right, well, if you haven't been, you should go. And I look forward to a full reopening of the museum and to your increased accessibility. Scanning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now go get some sleep. All right. Okay, next up, I'm looking for Karen Taylor. Is Karen Taylor here? She is not. Okay. So the next item on our agenda is a presentation from Karen Taylor on some happenings, on an exhibit on the Sugar Hill Luminaries lawn, but as she is not yet in the meeting, I'm going to switch around the agenda and we'll do the Row New York Boathouse first. Hold on a second, 7:25. Just giving an extra check. Nope, she's still not here. All right, so the Row New York Boathouse. Danielle reminded me at our meeting last month that it would have been helpful for me to provide context to presentations for people who do not necessarily have all of the history of prior actions by the committee on presentations that we're about to hear. And on that point, she was absolutely right. So let me give a little bit of context on this presentation that we're about to hear. Have some notes on this, which I cannot find, so I'm going to be winging it. But I do want to say that one of the things that we have had on the board in general and in this committee for certainly a couple of decades is an increased interest, awareness of and interest in development of our waterfront, to be able to see it, to be able to use it, to be able to get into and onto the water. And if you go through our minutes, really for the last 20 years, and certainly for the last several years, you see a lot of mentions in various contexts, specifically relating to Sherman Creek and Row New York. We had a bunch of presentations from Row New York on their programming. And in 2019, we passed a resolution. It was not unanimous. There was at least one person not voting due to conflict, and there may have been a couple of abstentions from people who had missed the presentation, so chose not to vote on it. But there were no negative votes. So it was like, 38 people in favor and no one opposed, enthusiastically supporting the programming that Row New York offers and the development of that site to include a boathouse. I direct you to our minutes from December that has a pretty robust, December of 2019, a pretty robust summary of the many questions. The main sticking point for folks in this committee was the extent to which Row New York's programming was benefiting not just New York City public school children, but specifically New York City public school children from this community. And the answer was overwhelmingly yes. Like 40% of the kids come from this immediate area, 60% of the kids come from the expanded Upper Manhattan area, if you include Harlem, in addition to Washington Heights and Inwood. And then you've got the balance of kids coming from other areas, primarily Queens. I think there's one kid who schleps up here from Staten Island at the time. But it's a program that is in this community and benefiting children in this community. They do other programs as well, and I'm sure they'll talk about that in their presentation. So what we're going to be hearing now is not a new idea. It's a presentation of the actual planned boathouse, which a couple of years ago we agreed to in theory, and now we're going to get to see what the plan actually looks like. So with that, And this programming dovetails pretty seamlessly with the programming that New York Restoration Project provides also in Sherman Creek. So there's a lot going on over there. I encourage those of you who have not taken the opportunity to walk over there to check it out. I know Sally's really familiar with it, but there may be other members of the committee who aren't as familiar with it. And I encourage you to, as I said, to go check it out. But without further ado, Rachel.
I think we're going to start it off. Thanks so much, Liz. I think we're going to start it off with Jennifer.
With Jennifer? Okay.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, Liz. As Liz relayed, this is a project that's been a long time in the making. The Parks Department, New York Restoration Project, and Row New York have come before this committee several times. We've been collaborating to try to revitalize the area that's behind PS5. Sherman Creek is 15 acres that Bette Midler was catalytic in helping reclaim. It had been a dumping ground, and she brought Swindler Cove to the city, and she returned rowing to the Harlem River. Historically, the Harlem River had been used for regattas and was flanked with boathouses. Bette Midler brought rowing back with the Peter J. Sharp Boathouse, and eventually brought in Row New York as a partner to operate public programs there. Now we've got an opportunity to expand to meet the growing demand for both school kids, veterans, the disabled community, and beyond, and reconnect them to that legacy of rowing along the Harlem River. So many people on this meeting may be more familiar with Rachel's predecessor, but Row New York has been a great partner in this community and provided ongoing updates at this committee over the years, and receptive to community input and feedback. And we're just glad to see the project advancing, and we're excited to get people back on the water.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. I'm going to share my screen now so we can see the presentation.
Before you do that, I just want to correct myself. I had said that we passed a resolution in December of 2019, and it wasn't, it was in September of 2019. So for people who want to review that, you would be looking for our minutes and for our resolutions of September 2019. There was also an update about it in April of 2020. Sorry, back to you.
Great, no problem. Thanks so much. So as Liz and Jennifer introduced me, I'm Rachel Citron. I'm the Executive Director of Row New York. I've been with the organization since May of 2019, but my predecessor, whom you're probably more familiar with, Amanda Kraus, left the organization in the fall. And so I've become Executive Director and in charge of the Boathouse Project for just since about November of 2020. I also want to introduce my colleagues who are on the call, who may also answer some questions towards the end of the presentation. So they include Ryan Bielitz of Envoy Projects. He serves as the project manager for Row New York. And from the Parks Department, we also have Katie Riley with us tonight. She's the Parks Department Senior Project Manager with the Capital Division. And we have Brian Stern, who's the Director of Strategic Partnerships. So I just wanted to thank them for being on the call as well. My main purpose today of the presentation is really to update you on the proposed timeline of the Sherman Creek Community Boathouse and Learning Project. But you know, I understand there's probably a whole lot of people in this meeting that are new to this project. So I'm really going to go back and do an overview. So I'm going to be letting you know what Row New York does as an organization, who we serve, what we consider our results. I'm going to be talking about the community support for the Boathouse Project, and I'm going to be telling you and showing you what's inside the boathouse, telling you about the park and the dock adjacent to the boathouse, and perhaps most importantly, really talking about the enhanced capacity to serve the community that the boathouse provides. We really envision this as a community boathouse and learning center for use by the community And we're really so excited to both present it to you and to make this happen for the community. So just a few things to cover before I go through the slides. Many folks are probably familiar with the Peter J. Sharp Boathouse. It's floating in the water. It's on the water in Swindler Cove. You may know that it's not currently usable. It is sinking and really unsafe. So we are doing our best to find it a new home. It really can't withstand the current of the Harlem River, unfortunately. The water current is just beating it up. Additionally, another thing that you may have noticed is just a couple weeks ago, we have installed temporary fencing at the top of the gangway to the Peter J. Sharp area. And that is safely housing our boats so that we can continue to offer programming this summer. Since we can't use the boathouse. So we're really thankful to NYRP for partnering us in regards to this fencing so that we can continue to have youth out on the water while some other alternatives are being worked out. And lastly, I wanted to mention, we really have an extraordinary commitment of private donors on this project. They have donated over $20 million of private funding to bring the boathouse to the community. And I think it's also really important to recognize, especially at this forum, that we're really grateful for local officials that have committed about $1.5 million for the project, in particular, the community dock. So we're really grateful to Councilmember Rodriguez and Borough President Gail Brewer. In addition, Speaker Corey Johnson and Councilmember Rivera and the Women's Caucus have all recently contributed capital funding for the project. So with all of that preamble, I will get to the slides. So here's where we are in terms of the timeline. So pre-construction work, we've been working on this project for quite a while. It began in mid-2017. And as Liz just reminded us all, there was a resolution to support this project in September of 2019 by the Community Board Committee, this committee today. The Public Design Commission, soon after that, New York City's Public Design Commission issued its preliminary approval in October 2019. And now fast forward to 2021, the summer, we have now, Parks has submitted the submission to the Public Design Commission for final approval, and the PDC will be meeting about that next month in August. And then in terms of what happens after that, we're expecting to start construction in early 2022. And construction will take approximately 2 years, so that we'll be moving in late 2023. Whoops. For some reason it's not letting me go down. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. So now we'll have an overview about Row New York. So what we really do is we use the power of rowing to transform the lives of New Yorkers, inclusive of background or ability. We've been around since 2022, and we serve almost 2,000 students in Queens and Manhattan. And really what we do is we have two main programs. We have a youth program that really works with students in middle school and high school with a comprehensive program that is a lot of rowing, and also supports students through high school and actually through college with a comprehensive college prep programming and academic support, in addition to all the athletic conditioning and competition in the sport of rowing. I think it's also important that lots of folks are interested in our adaptive program that to this date has only been around in Queens. We have not had a suitable facility to work with students with disabilities in Manhattan. And we're really excited that the new boathouse will allow us to work with students with intellectual and physical disabilities in Manhattan. In terms of what our program does, we've been at this for 19 years. On the left side, you can see some demographics about our students. As Liz mentioned, we very much serve the community. 50% of our students are first generation Americans. Nearly 80% identify as students of color. Most of our students, the overwhelming number of our students, row for free. And we do certainly a lot of physical activity. Which has been especially helpful over COVID in the last couple months. On the right side is our impact. All of our students graduate high school, almost all of them, 96% enroll in college, and now we're starting to support our students through college. And as mentioned, most of our students are from Upper Manhattan, some in the Bronx. And we have really, over the years, partnered with many of the neighborhood schools. So in terms of partnerships, we do some programming in those schools, and we also draw from many of the schools in Upper Manhattan. To this point, we've really been doing a lot of ongoing community participation. In this project, we have had really very regular Boathouse Council meetings, and where we gathered community feedback in the early going, and the Boathouse Councils continue to meet for updates and inputs. And the council meetings, the folks that are invited to council meetings include local principals, family coordinators, community board representatives, staff from elected officials' offices, local executive directors, organizations affiliated with water like the Coast Guard and Waterfront Alliance, and representatives from neighborhood residential places such as Dyckman Houses. So we really have a mix of community leaders that have been attending and invited to attend the council meetings to give us input on the project. We've had a lot of local support in terms of letters of support. The organizations such as the Waterfront Alliance, Dominican Women's Development Committee, Literacy Inc. Have all given us letters of support. And as I mentioned at the top of this presentation, we've had quite a few of our electeds, really all of our electeds, allocate city funds. And then Congressman Espaillat, who does not have necessarily funds to allocate, has also been very vocal and consistent in his support. I think there's really lots and lots of interest and support for this project from so many stakeholders in the community. I think so many people recognize the importance of connecting the community to the waterfront, and really so many people are excited about the engagement of community youth in the organization and the opportunity that this boathouse provides to grow the program. So now I'm going to walk through what that program looks like. So there's really two things that the boathouse allows us to do. It really allows us to increase the depth and breadth of our current programming, and also allows us to increase community access to the water and community serving amenities. So I'm just gonna walk through what all this looks like. So our core program, that's the one that the stats I was talking to about the college going students, that currently serves 110 students, and we are proposing to double that. So we're really excited. That is a very, very intensive and comprehensive program. Students are with us 6 days a week for multiple years, usually at least 4 or 5 years, and then through college. And then we also have a summer day camp. That's for students who really want to learn to row. They're not necessarily sure they want to do this rowing thing 6 days a week, but they really want to get on the water and give it a try. So we'll be doubling the numbers in our summer camp. And then the new boathouse allows us to add some programming. So we're going to be offering indoor fitness to community members. We have rowing machines that are kind of fun to use and are a tremendous workout, and also some other fitness equipment. And as I mentioned before, we're going to be able to offer para and adaptive rowing for students with disabilities. The boathouse is fully accessible, which is really tremendous, both to get into the building and to get from the building to the water. And then we'll be continuing with our Masters in Scholastic program that has some private schools and some folks who already are just older. We call them Masters rowers, a little bit older than the youth population. And then that's not all. We also are really continuing to grow our community programs for folks who want to have beginner instruction and they're not necessarily sure they want to commit, like I was saying, to the full program. We have lots of opportunities for people to learn to row on multiple weeks in kind of rowing classes, and also have some big learn to row days where people can just try it out for a couple hours, get really introduced to it, and see if they want to join a rowing class to get into it more intensively. And then I think the other thing that we're really, really excited about is the community event space. So I'll show you a picture of that in a few minutes, but the boathouse really provides quite a bit of space for the community to use. So that's the program. Before I go and share what the space looks like, I thought it would be really helpful to have one of our participants, one of our former participants, an alum, Fernando Diaz, just to kind of talk about his experience in the program for just a few minutes to really make all those things that I said really come alive. So I'll turn it over to Fernando.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for that warm introduction. My name is Fernando Diaz, and I am an alum from Row, New York. I graduated 2019 and I spent 5 years in the program. I started in middle school. And the whole reason why I chose Roar New York is I wasn't good at any other sports. I tried basketball, I tried football, and none of them really appealed to me until I found Roar New York. And once I found that love, that passion for rowing, being on the water, it was so interesting. I mean, none of my friends have done that. So I decided to pursue it. And 5 years later, I graduated 2019. And I want to talk more about the impact that Roar New York, made on my life. In terms of fitness, I was with my teammates 20 hours a week in the middle of the water, blood, sweat, and tears yearly. And so not only did it benefit me, but it benefited getting to know other people that I wouldn't have known if it wasn't through Roar New York. And so I still keep in touch with those same people I rode with 2 years ago to this day. We talk on a daily basis now. I mean, the other day we did an alum event, and so it was really nice seeing them. But not only that, it offered me my first internship. I interned at BlackRock a couple years ago, which then led me to intern at JP Morgan Chase. And now I'm currently interning at UBS, the Union Bank of Switzerland, in the 12th Management Division. And that was all because of the initial step at interning at BlackRock that Roar New York gave me the opportunity to be a part of. And aside from internships, it also allowed me to be more a part of my community in terms of, I told my friends all the time, hey, look, I'm a part of rowing. You should come check it out. Come, take a boat out on the water and enjoy the moment. And so that was a little bit of what I've done. And also, I feel like many other kids are going to benefit from Roar New York in terms of tutorings, academic help. Every Wednesdays, we would go and we would work on our resumes, or I believe my senior year, they helped us write our supplements to submit to colleges and academic help. And Roar New York had a bunch of supportive staff behind us. And even to this day, even 2 years after I graduated, they're still in contact with me, and as well as many others, saying, hey, how are you? If you need anything, please let us know. So Roar New York has been a great backbone in my career development, my professional development, and overall fitness-wise as well. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Fernando. I just appreciate the opportunity for the committee to really hear from a live person off the slides, and a real beneficiary of the program. Thanks so much. So now to getting into kind of what the boathouse looks like. This is the view from Marginal Way, which is the area behind PS5. So you'd be standing, if you're looking at this, would be the view standing in the back of the school from PS5. And this is the view from the water. And just to orient you in terms of the location of where is this going, down here, this is Dyckman, this is the Harlem River Drive, this is 10th Avenue over here, and this is the school, so the blue roof of the school. Sherman Creek Park is obviously over here. And this square is the boathouse. And that gives you an idea of what we're talking about here. And then in terms of the land and the whole project, this is the new rowing dock. So the dock will be accessible to the public through most of the gangway. Then it will be closed off so that nobody falls off the dock. But people can access the water and be over the water on a good part of the gangway. This is a landscaped waterfront that will include pathways, landscaping, and seating. Some more open space that is part of NYRP's area. And then we are building an ADA path to the waterfront so that the building and the dock are fully accessible. Other thing I should mention is that there'll be kayak storage as part of this project, and anyone with a Parks Department permit for, I believe it's called human-powered vessels, will be able to use the dock. This is just a more detailed area that kind of shows a diagram of the the whole area here. And now an overview of what's in the boathouse. Boathouse is 2 stories. There are 5 boat bays, which is room for quite a bit of boats. State-of-the-art classrooms, a multi-purpose community space. Both the classrooms and the community space are going to be open to the community. We talked about the accessible park, the storage, and the rowing dock. And now I'll show you what each of these looks like. This is the multi-purpose community space. Right now, this is pictures, these odd looking things that are in the the community space. These are rowing machines. But the good thing about the rowing machines is, one, they're fantastic exercise. So we'll be using them for fitness classes if people are interested in that. But also they have wheels and can be put away. So we can move the erg machines out of the way and really use this space as a multi-purpose community space. And one of the fun features of the space is there are fantastic windows on either side. One has a view of the back of the school, and the other windows these windows look out right on the waterfront with a beautiful terrace right outside as well. And then the next room that I wanted to show everybody will be, there's 2 classrooms. You can see this one looks out on the water, and those are available for the community as well. One of the things that we're really excited about, Fernando mentioned that that we have academic programming. So really this boathouse, because it has the classrooms, will allow us to locate both the athletic part of our program and the academic program in the same spot, in the same space. Currently, we're at really 2 different locations. And the kids don't see each other. You know, the kids that are rowing don't see the kids who are doing the academic programming on the same day, and neither does the staff. So the last thing that I wanted to show is, some people may not be familiar with this whole area. So I just wanted to show you again on the right side. This is Public School 5, PS 5. This is the overhead view. This is Peter J. Sharp Boathouse now. This is the overhead view of the construction site where we'll be building. And the whole park is really over on the left. The whole park is over 15 acres. And the construction area where we'll be building for close to 2 years, this area enables us to really safely construct the building. And once the building is complete, the park will be accessible again and reinstated to its current condition with the addition of the ADA pathway. But this whole part will be fenced off during construction. However, the entire rest of the Sherman Creek Park is certainly available during construction, during construction. And certainly everything will be available afterwards. So that really completes my presentation. And with the final slide, really, we're really looking forward to everyone on this call, seeing you participate in the activities of Row New York, and seeing you participate and be able to utilize the boathouse. And we look forward to seeing you there. And I believe now, Liz, do we open it up for questions?
Yes, thank you very much for that. I'm actually atypically going to let the public go first, and then we'll do a lap through the public, and then we'll do a lap through the committee. I do just want to let you know that there were lots of people typing into the chat, beautiful, wow, awesome. We got at least one bravo young man for Francisco, who spoke so beautifully. So we're seeing some nice feedback from the public chat. Raised hands in the public. First, I see Shahabuddin Ali. Hello to our former community board member and chair, and then Chauncey Young and Robert Barnett. Shah.
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Okay, after 16 months of this, you would think I would figure this out by now, but I haven't. Good evening, everyone. A warm greeting to you, Madam Chair. For some reason, I don't see myself. So I'm like, if you see me moving around,
We just see a picture of you, Shaw.
Oh, my camera's not on. I don't know how that's. Anyway, that's what I look like. And a warm greeting to all the board members who I've served with. I know there are some new ones. So hello again. Hello to the new ones, and to new members, and to my friends who I've served on the board with, and a new friend, Daniel, whose mural is gorgeous. When I left the community board, I just want to take a quick second to say something about this project. When I left the community board, I knew that I wanted to stay involved in the community, but now I get to pick which causes really matter to me. And I'm happy to say that I joined the board of Row New York. And Fernando could not have said it better. He so eloquent. And the reason why I joined Row is twofold. One, my son rowed with Row New York. And I always believed that if a program was good enough for my child, then I should be able to support it for everyone's child. And for the leveling opportunities. Fernando's opportunities was given because of Row New York. This boathouse is going to be beautiful. It's respectful of the community. There's no reason why we shouldn't have a beautiful boathouse like this in our community. As a former board member, former chair, believe me when I say I put Rachel and the board through paces to make sure that this project was respectful to the community and one that the community can benefit from. Many times we've seen projects that throw a token sort of accessibility to the community and say, here it is. This is really 100% accessible to the community. It's for the community's benefit. It's for the enrichment of the community. There's going to always be concerns about projects of this scope, but it's something that we deserve in Upper Manhattan, something that is going to be great, something that the kids will benefit from. Rowing is an excellent sport. A fun fact, I do not row, I do not swim, but I still support this project because it's a leveling sort of a sport. It's one that opens doors for all kids who otherwise could not, all people who could not otherwise take advantage of such an amazing opportunity. So any program that's their mission statement has my support, and I hope they have your support as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Shah. I appreciate that. Next up, Chauncey Young, our partner from across the bridge.
Good evening. So nice to see you, Liz. So nice to see you, Jennifer, Rachel, and all the folks in CB12 and folks from Row New York. I'm one of the coordinators for the Harlem River Working Group that works for the last 10 years trying to connect folks to the waterfront on the Harlem River on both sides and develop greenway paths. Row New York has been an incredible partner. Over those 10 years, we've hosted canoeing programs in the Peter J. Sharp Boathouse for getting public school students out on the water as part of our annual Row the Harlem River event. But also as a father, my daughter actually rowed with Fernando in her middle school years. And actually she received, she has a sort of an untraditional Row New York story. She actually received a full scholarship at a boarding school for high school because of her rowing. So we were a very lucky family since we couldn't afford to send our daughter to boarding school, but she got a full ride at St. Paul's because of her participation in Row New York. So really as a father of someone who's, been involved and participated in the community councils and, as a coalition of groups working on the waterfront, Row New York has just been an incredible organization. I always recommend schools to work with Row New York and really, want to revision, what was the history of the Harlem River, which was over 40 boathouses along the waterfront with, really the center of New York City's water recreation really was the Harlem River. And we may never get back to that, but, this is the first step to really reconnecting, our children and our families to the waterfront. So very excited to support this and yeah, great to see everyone.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Next up, Bob Barnett.
Okay, am I unmuted?
You are.
Great, okay. My internet is a little wobbly, so if I pop out, it's not because of you, it's because of mine. Listen, I've done a whole lot I can add to all of the remarks people have already made, but I do want to add my voice as president of Harlem River Community Rowing to the support of the new boathouse. I will also mention in that context that I've been a member of the council, the community council, almost since I think this began. So I've actually really watched and attended these meetings where Row New York listened to a wide range of opinions, input, as they worked through the different designs, purposes, the concepts. So they are incredibly sensitive to really responding to the community's needs and expectations. So I think that just speaks very, very well of it. I can do a whole long history about rowing on the Hudson, on the Harlem. We've
That
already.
would be September.
Yeah, we'll save that. But I will identify the fact that Inwood, because it's surrounded by water on three sides, has a great awareness and attention to the benefits of recreation on the water. I experienced that, we experienced that when we relocated to Inwood about 4 years ago. So I just think that there's an unmet opportunity, unmet demand that I think Row New York is really going to be able to tap with the size of its boathouse and its programming. I know that we're going to actually be partnering with them this coming summer because with the Muskota Marsh dock closed, Row New York has kindly offered us an opportunity to row out of their dock. So I just want to acknowledge that's another example of their openness to the community. I wish I could say another 10,000 good things, but I think that I'm gonna leave it there.
In the interest of time, I'm going to move to Cassandra Collazo. You're up. Cassandra? Cassandra Collazo, going once, going twice.
Oh, hi. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, hi. I'm so sorry. I was trying
That's
to mute
okay.
my. Okay. Totally off topic. I just want to
Nope,
give.
not. If you have a question for some other item, we can do that under new business. This is a time for questions specifically about this presentation.
Oh, okay. I'll
Yep.
just wait then. Okay.
Cool, thank you. I appreciate your forbearance. Okay, going through the committee, I'm gonna actually recognize Danny first because he hasn't had a chance to ask questions, and then Danielle and Sally.
Hey, what's up? I'll make this fast. Cool presentation. I think that's pretty cool what you guys are doing for the youth. My question is, the building, is it gonna be like on like that park that's out over there? Would that building the land that you guys put the building on, would it be replaced somewhere else? Because I know, like, I saw that park and it's like really big. Would you guys like open up more space somewhere else? How does that work?
So I can answer that. The site, Danny, is 15 acres, Sherman Creek, sort of primarily behind the school. And then in front of the school is Harlem River Esplanade, which is the lawns, the picnic grounds, and the bike path. There's going to be no change to that area. What's being changed is, I guess it's about a 2-acre site out of the 15 that's behind the school. Historically, it had 3 boathouses on it, and we're bringing back 1 boathouse. It's the one place along the Harlem River where you can have direct waterway access to get like right into the river. So that's really a priority for parks, is to get people, turn that recreational access and connection. So there won't, certain programs that maybe happened there before, post it being 3 boathouses, would probably be moved to the Harlem River Esplanade area or to the southern half of the site, sort of immediately south of the Row New York boathouse.
So just to be clear, the area where, for people for whom maps aren't really helpful, but visualizing what's there now, is helpful. The area where the boathouse that we've seen the presentation on will be placed is within that area where the picnic tables are now. That's directly behind the school. It won't take up that whole area, but that's sort of generally speaking, if like seeing the space with mind's eye, that's what's there now. And what had been there before those picnic tables were there is, as Jennifer said, 3 boathouses, much in keeping with the history of the river as siting with dozens of boathouses in the last century. Does that help?
Yeah, cool. Thanks. That makes a lot of sense.
Cool, thank you. Next up, Danielle.
Thanks so much for the presentation. 2 questions. So I just wanna be clear. The boathouse and dock are both going to be publicly accessible, or does one have to have a permit in order to operate a boat or a jet ski or something like that? Like, can anybody just use the dock?
Yes, I can answer that. So, Jennifer, go ahead. Go ahead. Jennifer.
So Danielle, the land is parkland, and Parks is developing the boathouse as a concession. The dock is going to be for the public, for anybody who has the $15 Parks permit. You have to certify that you can swim and other things. We don't allow any jet skis though at any of our park sites. So for this new community dock, going to be human-powered boats only, kayaks, canoes, rowing, shells, paddle boards.
And then the boathouse, is that publicly accessible?
Yeah, so in regards to the boathouse, we will be having public programs in the boathouse, and then we will also have the opportunity for people to rent out at either no or low cost to have their activities in the boathouse. So it won't be like open all the time for people to walk around, but there will be lots of accessibility, at least 60% of the time, for the public to use it for programmed activities.
Okay, because my second question was going to be if you were going to be installing bathrooms and if those could be open whenever the boathouse was open to the public. Because there's no bathrooms in that area, and I had asked a while back about, whether it'd be possible to install bathrooms, and I think the answer was no because of, I can't remember why, but this seems like an opportunity to potentially build. So are bathrooms going to be part of your plan or no?
So immediately to the south of this in Swindler Cove, there are public restrooms. And then in the Sherman Creek campus that New York Restoration Project got city funding to build on 10th Avenue, there are public restrooms there. So those are the 2 park bathrooms in the Sherman Creek area. But for boathouse programs, they'll have use of the indoor bathroom for boathouse programs and community meetings and whatnot.
Okay, so bathrooms are part of this project, but they're not publicly accessible, but bathrooms are available in the surrounding areas.
In the same park, there are 2 other restrooms. And then up at further north at Monsignor Kett, we're building the super deluxe bathrooms that this committee helped shape.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Sally.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update. It was great. Looking forward to holding a Parks and Cultural Affairs meeting there sometime in 2023.
Absolutely.
My specific question is with regard to the public kayak storage. Do you know what the capacity of that will be?
I believe it's 12 kayaks, but Ryan, do you know for sure?
Yeah, 12 is correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right. I did see one of the, Debbie doesn't have her hand raised, but she asked a number of questions in the chat that about water pollution. All of the water is filled with super heavy metals. The old power station, we know the school had issues when it first opened. You can see oil on the surface of the water. So there were a number of questions about the water quality. So can someone, Rachel or Jennifer, just speak briefly to the water quality And thank you, Debbie, for raising those questions.
Sure. So Parks' Natural Resources Group and New York Restoration Project have been doing restoration work in the creek for several years now. Right now, this committee had seen the Oyster Castle project that NYRP had put in immediately south of here to see if that also helps restore the marsh and the marsh habitat. To the north at Academy Street, at the former Con Ed, I guess it was a coal-fueled power plant. I know at one point in time, the Army Corps of Engineers had plans to dredge out, clear, whatnot, but have since backed away from that and are letting the mudflat restoration sort of prevail. And then sort of the north end of the Sherman Creek area, or what's referred to as the larger Sherman Creek, because the creek used to come into what's now Dyckman Houses. The Parks Department and EDC at the 208th Street Inlet are doing marsh restoration work there to further improve the water quality along the Harlem River.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Liz,
Oh, yes,
may I just have a point of order?
sure.
Just moving forward, things that are in the Q&A or chat are not really part of the meeting.
Yes,
And-
that point was already made earlier in the meeting.
And, I apologize. I was walking here from 168 because
Quite all
MTA
right.
stands for might take a while. So I had to walk.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Just one point regarding water quality. The Peter J. Sharp Boathouse has been one of the sites that we've been testing water quality for years. We aren't doing it this year because of COVID, but hopefully can resuscitate it sometime during the season. But we have been testing the water there weekly.
Great, thank you. All right, so just to reiterate what I had said before, we passed as a committee 2 years ago and as a board a resolution supporting this proposal. And while it's nice to see some of the details, there isn't anything in this proposal that materially diverts from what we had already approved 2 years ago. So there's no need to do.
I can hear you though. It's okay.
hold
I'm
on a
muted.
second. No, you're not muted. You're not muted, Nydia. Okay, you are now. So yeah, so there isn't anything in the presentation that diverges at all from what we've already approved. It just kind of gives us a little bit more detail and a lot more information about the timing and the funding and the specifics. But so there's really no need for a resolution. And I have to say, there's certainly been, a lot of enthusiastic support. So I really look forward to the beginning of construction. I look forward to continued updates. As you saw at the beginning of the meeting, we always have on the agenda a time for people to come and give updates. So you're welcome to, without any prior setup, if you're just given like a 2-minute update on what's happening, you're welcome to just drop in and raise your hand in the queue and keep us posted on whatever is happening going forward. And we're going to hold you to that commitment of hosting a meeting of the committee, because we do like, we are looking forward to in-person meetings, and we're looking forward especially to moving around the community. And I think this would be a great place to have a meeting.
It would be our pleasure. Can't wait.
Fantastic. So thank you all very much. And it's 8:14, and I'm going to turn the mic over to Karen Taylor to give us a report on what you got planned for the Sugar Hill Luminaries lawn.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm happy to be here. Can you see the screen, my screen with the PowerPoint presentation?
No, you have to do a share screen. We're just seeing your picture.
Okay, all right. I knew that. I forgot to do that, so let me share.
Yeah, it'll be the green button at the bottom.
Yep. Share screen. Oh my goodness, hold on a second. Let me close this. This is so frustrating because I have this right up here. Wait, hold on a sec. I'm sorry to delay the meeting. I will just talk because I don't want to take up too much time right now. But essentially, while we are still here, which some of you may know is a 501c3 organization that's organized around certain aspects of the cultural heritage of Harlem. And our mission is to educate, enshrine, and preserve the extraordinary legacy of Harlem as an influential incubator that was vital to the intellectual, cultural, social, and political advancements of the Harlem community, as well as the diaspora. And we are going to put on an outdoor exhibit at the Sugar Hill Luminaries Lawn. Probably in March, I reached out to Jen and I asked her about the viability of this, and she advised me as to what to do. And so I just wanted to make sure that CB12 knew about this. And so I wish I could share the screen. Can I try? I'm going to try one more time so people can see what I'm talking about.
I think you have to be made co-host to share the screen.
I think Liz did that already.
Okay.
But the weird thing is the
Do you
fact
see a
that,
green share screen button at the bottom of your screen?
yes, I clicked on that, but when it pops up, it just says Microsoft PowerPoint without, and I've got like 5 different things. Maybe I should just close the windows. Let me close every
Close
single.
all your windows.
Close all the windows, close the windows, close the windows, close the windows. To make sure that there's nothing else open. Okay. Okay, so this should be it. I'm guilty of keeping too many windows open in my life. Let's see. Okay, so let me try it one more time. Once more. Okay. 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 Okay, so it's not cooperating. So essentially what we're trying to do, what we're proposing, and we'd like to have a letter of support. We want to have an exhibit, and it's an outdoor exhibit at the Sugar Hill Luminaries Lawn, and it's called Harlem Then and Now, and it's a photography exhibit by the Kamoinge Collective, which was founded in approximately 1961-62 by Roy DeCarava and Lou Draper to provide a community for African-American photographers who lived in Harlem. And so basically, we've got a whole exhibition design, which I wish I could share on this screen right now. But Kamoinge is a pretty well-known organization. They just had a retrospective at the Whitney Museum. And while we are still here, we'll have the honor of presenting their works from September 11th through hopefully December 11th in an outdoor exhibit. The exhibit will be posted on the rail at the Sugar Hill Luminaries lawn. It's a cast iron rail that kind of encircles the kind of triangular part that's there. And the exhibit will be printed on double-sided banners. The banners are 6 feet wide by 5 feet high. There will be 14 of them, and they'll be posted on PVC pipe, black PVC pipe, and connected to the railing with electrical ties, those plastic kind of zippy things. And they're pretty secure. It'll be a secure exhibit. And
They're how big?
They're 6 feet wide by 5 feet high. And there will be 14 of them on the Edgecombe Avenue side of the park along that railing there. Some of the people who are photographers for Kemoingi, there's a woman by the name of Ming Smith. She's the first African-American woman to have her works acquired by the Museum of Modern Art for their permanent collection. And she's really getting a lot of shine now because she's an older person who's done this whole wonderful body of work. And then there's a man by the name of Adger Cowens, who was the first African-American still photographer in Hollywood. He photographed everyone from, oh my gosh, the Ingrid Bergman to Richard Roundtree. I mean, he was just a stalwart in Hollywood, and he's also a photojournalist as well as an art photographer. And then there is a man by the name of Gerald Cyrus, who has done these wonderful capturings of the jazz scene in Harlem at the various bars and restaurants in Harlem. He's got a beautiful body of work. And so essentially we'll be featuring 13 of those artists at the exhibit, which should be really wonderful. And as a little added thing, every year since 5 years ago, While We Are Still Here has presented the Sugar Hill Music Festival at the Sugar Hill Luminaries lawn. So this year, we're starting on September 11th with the exhibit, and the Sugar Hill Music Festival will kick off on September 11th as well. So there'll be a lot of activity at that site.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I was looking a little bit at your website that has a little bit of.
It's not up there. It's not up there yet. We haven't updated it
Got
yet.
a little information about what Kemoingi is, but I wish we could see the pictures, but you did a good job of explaining them to us. I don't think we can't do a resolution, or we can't take any official action because this is not a legally recognized meeting, because as I explained earlier in the meeting, now that the executive order is off, we have to have all of our meetings in person. So we can have an informational meeting, and this has been extremely informative.
Liz, I've just found
Fantastic.
the PowerPoint. Okay, so let me just start from the top. That's the title page. I don't have to go through that.
Right.
I told you all what the mission was. And
If you could just show us a little bit about what the images are going to be.
okay, can I go over for people who may not know? Like essentially, While We Are Still Here was founded to codify the history of 409 and 555 Edgecombe Avenue. And this slide is what's so cool about 409 and 555. At 409, we had W.E.B. Du Bois and Thurgood Marshall. And at 555, we had, well, we still have Marjorie Elliott, who presents every Sunday still. And Paul Robeson lived in this building. Cassandra Wilson, Count Basie, and Joe Louis did, as well as many, many other very extraordinary people. And a previous exhibition that we did was written up in the New Yorker, and it was called The Harrises of Harlem. So if you'd like to see what those images were, all you have to do is Google Harrises of Harlem, 8 Generations, and that will pop up immediately. And then here is a picture of the Kamoinge Collective. And as you can see, this is an older picture. It was probably taken during the 1970s. And I mentioned, oh hell, what the hell is wrong with this thing? And I mentioned that Ming Smith was the first African-American woman to be acquired by MoMA. And at this point in the development of Kamoinge, she was the only woman photographer there. And she's just an extraordinary photographer. And all of them are extraordinary photographers. On the right-hand upper side, that's Anthony Barboza, you know, Sean Walker, you know, all of these people. Sean Walker's on the bottom right. All of the, he just sent his whole archive from the 1950s to the Library of Congress. They acquired that. So they've got an extraordinary reputation and chronicling the different eras that occurred in Harlem. And I put just one images because I know that people don't want to be seeing all these images, but this was taken by Gerald Cyrus, who's a later member of Kamoinge, and this was taken at St. Nick's Pub. And many of you may know that St. Nick's Pub burned down in 2018, I believe it was, but that was really a very extraordinary place for jazz and various other things over the years. And Gerald will be part of the exhibit. And now this is the installation sketch of what the actual exhibit will look like. So as I said, there will be 14 banners, 6 feet by 5 feet, posted on PVC pipe attached with electrical ties. And this is the Edgecombe Avenue side. That's the sidewalk there. And excuse me, this is how the banners will be posted going down Edgecombe Avenue from the top of the park all the way down. And that's that. And then this is the Sugar Hill Music Festival, and we're finalizing the plans to have burnt sugar there in the park. That's led by Greg Tate in a tribute to the Mizell brothers. The Mizell brothers were a group of men from New Jersey, but who lived for a while at 555 Edgecombe Avenue. And they were very influential from like Motown Records with the Jackson 5, all the way to Blue Note Records with people like Bobby Humphrey and Hubert Laws and Marvin Gaye. And so Burnt Sugar will do a tribute to them. And Brandy Younger is not going to be in here. And then Sharonay Wade is a young jazz vocalist, and she will do a tribute to Gil Scott-Heron, who lived at 555 Edgecombe Avenue. And she's just an extraordinary young talent. This has nothing to do with the exhibit, but I just wanted to talk about, you know, the other events that would be happening that day. And Dwayne Eubanks is part of the Eubanks family, musical family. I believe it's his brother, who was a guitar player with Jay Leno, on Kevin Eubanks, a guitarist, an extraordinary guitarist, and Dwayne is either his brother or his cousin. And then there is the stalwart Sugar Hill Quartet, and they are what I call the longest running house band in Harlem. They were at the Sugar Hill, the St. Nick's Pub. From there, they moved to Minton's. From there, they moved to Lennox Lounge. And now, essentially, they don't have any place regular to play. because a lot of the venues like that have been closed. And as part of the day on September 11th, we like to always have an author who will discuss a book that's related to Harlem history. So this year, we're having Professor Shannon King, who will be interviewed on his book, Whose Harlem Is This Anyway? And so that's it. That's it. I just wanted to go through that quickly so I wouldn't take up too much time.
I appreciate that. It looks like an excellent series of events. I guess a procedural question from Jennifer. As I was saying earlier, we can't do a resolution, although I don't think a resolution is really necessary anyway. We can't really do a letter of support. If you have to have a letter of support, I can certainly reach out to the chair and have him write a letter of support, because it's consistent. This use is consistent with what we had in mind a decade and a half ago when we first renamed that lawn the Sugar Hill Luminaries lawn. A big part of what was in that resolution at that time was doing community events like this. So I don't think we're really breaking new ground here. And I'm just curious, Jennifer, do you require that? Does Parks require that?
I think it's probably going to go through the temporary public art program, the panels. So I think as long as the minutes reflect there was, opportunity for public input, it was presented. I think, Karen's covered.
Cool. Sure. So I just want to do a quick lap through the community and through the committee and through the community. If people have particular feedback, suggestions, objections, approvals, show of hands, thumbs up if you like this idea, thumbs down if you don't. I'm seeing thumbs ups. I'm seeing thumbs ups. I do have one comment, lots of thumbs ups. That's great. I do have one comment from the public. Deborah Cardona says, please get Curtis Stewart or Jesse Montgomery, great contemporary musicians and composers of color. Curtis graduated from my school. Debbie is, among other things, a teacher. So
sounds good.
Actually, Karen, you have the ability as a panelist to type answers in the Q&A if you would like. I left Debbie's question open if you want to give her your contact information so that the two of you can be in touch with each other. If you have suggestions about additional guests, musical artists to include.
I just sent her my telephone number.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I will say that is the piece that I really miss about meeting in person, the ability to really connect. I'm looking forward to having in-person meetings for that. With that, we don't have any additional business. I do, and I did say that I was trying to commit to ending this meeting by 8:30. It's 8:33. I don't think we have any new business. We do have.
There is one thing. In our last official meeting, Daryl agreed to take minutes in August, but we don't have an August meeting. So I'm moving that to September in the minutes. That's all.
Right. I believe the reason why he volunteered to take, that's sort of like at synagogue when you volunteer to bring the food for the Kiddush on Yom Kippur, which is a fast thing. He was volunteering to take minutes in August because we don't need. He was messing with you.
Yeah, he's moving to September
now.
Liz, yes.
I do want to just circle back to two people who had their hands up for things. One is Cassandra, who had raised her question before, raised her hand to ask a question before, but it was off topic. So I do want to give her the opportunity to ask that question. Cassandra?
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, for those of you who don't know me, I am the Girl Scout troop leader at Good Shepherd and also a former parent at PSMS 278. I just want to give a huge shout out to Jennifer Hoppe for facilitating the tree planting and bench dedication that occurred on June 24. This was for two young boys who passed away in the year 2020. my daughter's graduation year. Thank you, Jennifer. I don't know what wand or fairy dust you used to do that, but it was greatly appreciated. The principal gave you a huge shout out at the ceremony, but you weren't there because I know you're busy, and I explained to them that you probably wouldn't be there. But thank you so much, and we really appreciate that. Also, a big thank you to Ranger Rob, Ranger Ashley, Ranger Jeff for having these amazing workshops, which I have been taking advantage of a lot. And I just heard that we have free programs till the end of the year. So it's a lot of programs for us. Thank you, Jennifer. Our community really appreciates what you did. And Liz, thank you for your email after our last meeting, which I know some people were unhappy. It was very encouraging and everything worked out well. Thank you, everyone.
I am so glad that it worked out well, and I'm glad that the community has the opportunity to memorialize these two boys. That was just heartbreaking, just heartbreaking. So thank you for your continued advocacy for them and for their memory. Bernard Grobman asked, is this the place to discuss what I saw 4th of July, music so loud I could hear it a half a mile away, motorized vehicles using the bike path right past the NYPD? No, but yes, since it's already 8:35, I don't want to get into a whole litany of the just noise insults that the entire community had to endure over the holiday. And
there's a lot of minutes too on
And
just
there-
noise pollution as well.
yeah, I mean, it's a perennial issue, but I don't want you to think that in not having a discussion about it in this meeting, it's because we aren't aware of it as a problem or think it doesn't warrant solution and discussion. I just think that we've done a lot this evening, and I would like to,
Motion to adjourn.
end it on an up note.
Wait.
With that.
Question. Hold on. Sorry, Liz, can I ask a quick question to Jen?
You have Jennifer's email and phone number. I would be grateful if you would do that.
I can ask it super quick.
Sure, Danielle. What is your question?
Thanks. My question is if there are any updates on the signage for the BLM benches. I noticed that there still isn't signage.
They don't plan to do signage after all.
Okay.
The benches were supposed to come out at the end of December. They extended it. I think since it was expected to be a short-term thing, they didn't do signage, but the renaming signage is what's intended to be, I guess, the focal point of the Juneteenth grove that was planted are intended to be the
Thanks, Liz,
sort
for
of the
letting me
stars
ask.
of that exhibition. And I just want to say that for the motorcyclists issue on the bike path, there was a joint detail of the 33rd and Parks Enforcement in the past few days, specifically for that matter. And there is a task force working on the motorized scooter issue and motorcycles in areas where they're prohibited.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Excellent.
All
All
right,
those in favor, click your leave button.
All right, guys, take it easy.
Thank you so much. Good night, everybody. See you.
Good
Thank you, everyone. Good night.